So it's January 2024 and I'm doing a review for 2 books this month. Okay, so the books I'm going to review are Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks and The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Okay, so I'm going to start with Ask and It Is Given. I've got a little bit of a cold, so sorry. Sorry about that. Right, so I'm going to start with Ask and It Is Given. I haven't actually got the book here with me today, which I usually do. And that's actually because I've given it to my husband to read. So he has it at work. Okay, so why did I want to read this book? I didn't really want to read this book. So this book came up for me to read like years ago, and I sort of avoided it. I don't know, I didn't feel that it was going to be right for me. But then people kept recommending it until the point where I thought, okay, I should read this book because people keep recommending it. I know it's meant to be very good. So why didn't I want to read it? I just didn't get a good vibe from it. So sometimes with like spiritual books or people or ideas, I just don't feel that they kind of tune with me. They're kind of a bit too positive, which sounds a bit strange. Obviously, like, we want to be positive and whatever, but I don't want to ignore stuff to me that I think is real. So I might not want to live in accordance with that or promote it or whatever, but I also don't want to pretend that it just doesn't exist. And sometimes with people, I feel like they're trying very hard to pretend that the world is a certain way when it's not, and deep down they know it's not. God, I feel like I'm being a right arse now. So let's just move on to the book. So this book is all kind of about sort of manifesting your dreams and desires. They say a lot in the book about you can do anything, be anything, achieve anything, and that's great. I'm, totally on board with that. So some of the contents of the book. So the book is split into 2 sections. I thought the book was very well laid out. It was very well written. And for a kind of book that's about sort of positivity and manifesting, I thought it was really, really good. Even, I found it very convincing and everything. So some of the contents, so because I haven't got the book with me today, I've had to like look up the contents and things. So some of the contents, so the book is split into 2 parts. You've got a bit where they're sort of trying to, as it's put, things that we know that you may have forgotten, which are important for you to remember. Okay. And then the second part of the book is like things to actively do to like manifest things that you want. So the first part of the book, so it's channeled by the woman Esther Hicks, and it's sort of known as Abraham, this sort of entity or spiritual group or whatever. So she's channeling it, and this is its message. Okay, so it talks about things about living in joy and living through a process of always expanding what you want, moving to what you want, and then wanting something else and moving to that. Not completely sure that I think that's necessarily it, but anyway. And so there's loads of stuff in there that I really, really liked about living joyfully, living your life fully. If you have dreams and desires, acting on them, and moving forward in your life, expanding your thoughts and ideas. Then it talks about sort of the law of attraction and how that works. What else? It talks about using your emotions to recognize where you are in the law of attraction. So if you're feeling joyful and positive and happy about the future, that probably means that the things that you want and desire, you're in alignment with achieving those and moving forward with them. Whereas if you're feeling depressed and miserable or angry and sort of negative emotions, that probably means that the things that you want in the world, you're not attuned to achieving them. Okay, I mean that's kind of obvious, but it was written in a really good way to explain it, and it had sort of a list of emotions and talked about even if you're on the very sort of lower scale of negative emotions, just trying to move up even just a little bit to help you. And I really think that's very good, helping people with positivity and moving out of cycles of sort of negativity or depression or anger or fear and things like that. So I thought that was really good and really positive. So the things that I don't like about the book, there's this kind of, it did have that attitude that I felt it would, that like, this is just so easy. This is so easy. This is so straightforward. Everything's going to work out so well. So in some ways that's really inspiring, and I did feel inspired by the book. But what if you're not successful? I just feel like it's a real easy jump to getting really down and feeling shit about things, and kind of like, oh well, this is just my fault because I can't even do this thing that should be so straightforward and so easy. I should point out now I'm probably not very good at manifesting. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm good at it because I don't even really know what I want, and I don't even know if I agree with demanding things from the universe. So who am I to say that I know what's best for me all the time? There are some things that I'm like, no, that's really important to me that I want, and some things that's really important that I don't want in my life. But there's a lot of things where it's like, who's to say that's going to make me happy? Who's to say that's what I want? Who's to say that I have all the information I need to demand stuff and to make it happen? I'm just not convinced. So, I mean, if I do try and do any kind of thing like that, I tend to just try and be like, I just want positivity, happiness, joy, abundance, and not just for me, for everyone, just good stuff, please. Rather than specifically thinking, I want that thing and I'm going to zone in on it and I'm going to achieve it. Okay, but it did give a lot of specific advice for manifesting, different parts of the process, using your emotions to gauge where you are. That's where your emotions can be useful for gauging where you are on the process. And where you may have gone wrong previously in getting what you want. Okay, so there was a lot of information to take in on the book, and I think there's a lot of bits that I would like to go over again. Because as much as they made it all sound really simple, I did try a couple of things to see, let's see if I can move forward with this. And I didn't move forward with it. So, I don't know. But, I would say I'm very happy with my life. I have a lot of things that I want, but I have also worked on just trying to be happy and joyful, which doesn't always work because we're complex people and you have ups and downs. That's another thing. I don't think always having negative thoughts and emotions is like the enemy and must be avoided at all costs. Sometimes it's just passing, it's letting it pass through. That's what I think. It's like, if you're having whatever it is, but and also if you're having lots of depressive or negative feelings, you do want to try and find a way out of that. But they're always going to come, in my experience. For me, it's been learning to try and release them and let them go, rather than getting too bogged down and sticky in them. Okay, so then part 2 has all sorts of things. So actually found on their website, so I was just looking for the list of the 22 processes that they recommend as sort of practical exercises to try. And actually the website looks really good. Looks like there's a lot more sort of advice on there. So some of the things that sort of stood out for this to me was the rampage of appreciation, just being grateful for things that you have and showing appreciation for things that you have. And I would say, I think when you're feeling better, it's easier to do those things anyway. Being imaginative, imagining things that you want, worlds that you want. Maybe if there's something that you're aiming towards, keeping like a bit of a scrapbook about it, like cutting out, bits out of a magazine that seem relevant to that, or something that's working towards it. Yes, ones that I found. So I want to go back over this whole second section and really look into trying some of them a bit more in a concentrated way. But some of the ones that I found that I've done without going back over them are the wouldn't it be nice if. So just thinking about something that's coming up, say there may be something that you're not particularly looking forward to, but thinking, well, wouldn't it be nice if that happened when I was there, or wouldn't it be nice if that worked out and we got on. We don't always get on, but wouldn't it be nice if we did get on? And I found that really helpful, and I have tried that, and I did feel that that actually worked. So that seemed really good. Which thought feels better? So particularly if you're feeling very down, because they do sort of a list of emotions, and just trying to get to the next one up. You're not trying to get to joy and real optimism at the top, but just trying to get to the next one up. And I think that's really, really helpful for people, as well as sort of pivoting. So when you feel you're sort of going into one of these states, trying to get out of it before it gets too deep. And I think that's really good. Turning it over to the manager. That's something that I've done because I think I have an overactive imagination, so I can overthink things. So turning it over to the manager is going, okay, do you know what? That thing that I want, I'm going to leave it to, well, the universe. Universe, you just take care of that. Because rather than trying to, well, how would I do it? Would I do it like this? And what if that happens? Just saying, you know what? You deal with that. That's the thing I want. That's the thing I want to get to. You sort out how we get there. Also, that also includes in all of these things is taking opportunities that come up along the way. So if something does come up, or you're invited to something or offered something, rather than maybe going to your usual response and excuses, actually being a bit more daring and a bit more bold and taking opportunities that come along. Okay, so it was an interesting book. I listen to quite a lot of spiritual people and read a lot of spiritual books, and I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not completely on board with it, because I think it's really easy to fall into victimhood and blame yourself that things haven't worked out how you want. I also see a lot of people living very, very positive lives, and in the nicest possible way. I feel that they're kind of fooling themselves and ignoring things because they're so desperate to believe that things are working out according to this law of attraction and manifestation and things. But it's everybody's journey, and I think you can only go with what really feels like it works for you. And I'm really glad I read this book, and there were definitely things in it that I found really good, really positive, really helpful. But there's just something about the whole attitude of it that just sort of rubs up the wrong way against me. Okay, anyway, so that was that book. But as I say, it was still a really good book, which is why I've recommended it straight away to my husband. You should read this. Not to say you've got to live your life by every single sentence in it, but just I think there's things in it that are good and helpful. Okay, the other book I read was something sort of completely different, which was The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I have this book. So I wanted to read this book basically because I was going for a part in the stage production of it. So I was asking around people if they had the book to read, and somebody did. So I've now seen the film, read the stage production. I didn't get the part, by the way, which is obviously tragic. But I've read the play and I read the book. So I kind of feel like I'm a bit of an expert on The Girl on the Train. So just to give sort of full history, I tried to watch the film of The Girl on the Train probably about a year ago. And I found it so weird and boring that I just stopped. Then I went for like read-throughs, and I read the play, and I found the play, like it was okay. It was probably not the best play I've ever read, but it was readable, and obviously I went for a part in it and wanted to be in it. Then I watched the film again. I really don't like the film. I think it's a horrible film, actually, and I think the play itself is a bit misogynistic, but the film is like really misogynistic in my opinion. The women are just pathetic and embarrassing as women. Like, I don't even want to think that women could be so weak and useless and pathetic. But the book, I actually enjoyed the book the best. I found that it was really well written and very readable. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed the book a lot more. So a sort of basic run through of the story. It's sort of it's told from 3 different women's points of view, but mainly from one woman who is Rachel, who's a sort of newly divorced woman. She drinks too much. Her life is sort of falling apart. And she really just misses her old life, her old husband. And I think that the book really gave a good, it wasn't so like miserable as the play in the film, because there was a lot of looking back to her past life and how happy she was and things like that. So it made her a bit more of a rounded character. And then it's also told from the point of view of a woman called Megan, who's actually gone missing in the book. So it sort of goes backwards to tell her story. And this was a woman who Rachel had become a bit obsessed with, watching her through the train window and feeling like she had this perfect life, and then she goes missing. And it's also slightly told from the point of view of Anna, who is Rachel's ex-husband's new wife, and they have a baby together, and so they've got this sort of perfect life as well, from the outside anyway. So some of the things that I really liked as well in the book, I felt like the trains were a bit more prominent in the book than they were in the play and the film, which obviously, as it's called, Girl on a Train. Okay, so there was a few bits in there. So this book, the book is set in England, around London. The film is American, and I felt like, and the play is English as well, but I really. So I grew up around London, and so reading the book and trains, and I travelled on trains and stuff like that, it was really sort of nostalgic and things. Okay, so this quote says, "The train crawls along. It judders past warehouses and water towers, bridges and sheds, past modest Victorian houses, their backs turned squarely to the track." So like, I think if you've ever sort of travelled on trains in and out of London and in London, there's these like rows and rows of Victorian houses, and a lot of them have been split up and into shared houses and things like that. And you do proper get like a sort of glimpse into people's lives, even if it's just for a few seconds. And because they're sort of Victorian and old, there's already this kind of mood around them. I mean, nowadays there's also a hell of a lot of sort of new flats and things like that around London. But definitely from like my childhood travelling in, you're sitting on the train and you're looking at these people's lives and sort of imagining what their lives are like. Yeah, so that's really good. Okay, so this quote is from when Rachel, so the reason she's always looking at this woman Megan is because the train sort of stops for a few minutes at some signals, and it's also near where she used to live with her husband, so it's all sort of emotional and on her mind and stuff. So I look at it now, this was my first home, not my parents' place, not a flat share with other students, my first home. I can't bear to look at it. Well, I can, I do, I want to, I don't want to, I try not to. Every day I tell myself not to look, and every day I look. I can't help myself, even though there is nothing I want to see there, even though anything I do see will hurt me. So that's like her looking back on her past life, and so her husband's now living in her old house with his new wife. And even though she knows it's painful and she doesn't want to look, she just can't help herself. But it's obviously really painful for her and things like that. Okay, so I felt in the book as well that all 3 of the female characters were much more rounded and had a lot more depth than the characters in both the play and particularly the film. I found them much more believable. And actually, they actually touched on things about women's sort of thought processes and behaviour and ideas that you don't actually usually see represented in a lot of places. So that was quite refreshing and interesting. However, I found the men in the book less believable, particularly Tom, who I just found completely unbelievable as a character, particularly the fact that he's supposed to be a murderer and he's just carrying on. He's this lovely, amazing guy, and also he's supposed to have been so controlling and coercive in the past that, you know, Rachel just forgot about. It's just really unbelievable. Okay, so this quote is about Megan. So, Dr. Abdick Kamal, as I have been invited to call him, suggested in this afternoon session that I start keeping a diary. I almost said, I can't do that. I can't trust my husband not to read it. I didn't, because that would feel horribly disloyal to Scott. But it's true. I could never write down the things I actually feel or think or do. Case in point, when I came home this evening, my laptop was warm. He knows how to delete browser histories and whatever. He can cover his tracks perfectly well. But I know that I turned the computer off before I left. He's been reading my emails again. Okay, so I really felt like this gave a bit more depth to her as a character and the sort of complexities of her relationship with Scott, which, although on the one hand it seems like this sort of perfect relationship, or maybe, you know, he is a bit sort of quick-tempered and she's a bit confused and deceptive. I would even go to the point of saying that she's probably got like ADD or something. But actually, there's like a long underlying mistrust that's been going on between them, which sort of explains a bit more as well about his sort of character and things. I thought that the tension between Rachel and Scott was really strongly written later on in the book when he becomes aggressive to her. So there were lots of things about it I really, really enjoyed in the book. However, as it got near the end, I did feel that it sort of dragged on. And as it got right to near the end, I just found it so unrealistic. And all the characters' behaviour. So Tom, as I said, I found him a really unbelievable character. And when he's sort of like holding Rachel and Anna basically hostage, I just found that completely unconvincing. And that they would just sort of basically sit there and be held hostage. Anyway, but I did actually enjoy the book, and it's nice to read a fiction for a change. Okay, so that's that book. The book I'm reading now, back to non-fiction, is The Politics of War by Walter Karp. So this is the story of two wars which altered forever the political life of the American Republic. And it's sort of about how like global expansion was explored more from that time onwards, and how that was a change in the American Republic's attitude and ambitions. And that's going really well. It's not an area that I know a lot about, so I'm having a proper education. And I'll review that book next month. Okay, that's it for now then. Thank you.